When you think about the biggest decisions you'll ever make, things like where to live, what career to chase, right up there is the choice of if and when to have a family. That's really the heart of reproductive health. It's something that shapes our individual lives, our societies, and, well, our entire future. So today we're going to dive into the science, the choices, and everything in between.
To really get a grip on where we are now, you have to look back. Picture it. The year is 1900. The world's population is sitting at around 2 billion people. Now fast forward just 1 century to the year 2000. That number didn't just grow, it exploded to 6 billion. And a massive part of that population story happened right in India. Back at independence, the population was about 350 million. But by May of 2000, it blew past the 1 billion mark. Think about that for a second. At the start of this millennium, 1 out of every 6 human beings on Earth was an Indian. That's just staggering. This incredible growth, it naturally leads to some really big questions. Like, what was the engine behind this massive change? And more importantly, how do these huge population trends connect back to the very personal health choices that you and I face every day? That's exactly what we're here to unpack.
All right, first things first, let's tackle the why. Why did the population grow so fast? Well, it wasn't just one thing. It was more like a perfect storm of incredible advancements in public health that completely changed the game for humanity.
So, here's the irony. This population explosion was actually born from amazing successes. We got better healthcare, we had better living conditions, and boom, the death rate plummeted. Fewer mothers were dying in childbirth, fewer babies were dying in infancy, and way more people were living long enough to start their own families. It was a total health revolution that also created a brand new kind of challenge.
Okay, so with this explosive growth, the need for family planning became a really big deal really fast. And this isn't about finding one single magic bullet. It's about having a whole toolkit of options, contraceptive methods that empower people with choice. So let's open up that toolkit and see what's inside.
The key thing to get here is that different methods use totally different strategies. You've got natural methods, which are all about timing. Then there are barrier methods, which, you guessed it, create a physical roadblock. IUDs work inside the uterus, making it an unwelcome place for a pregnancy. Oral contraceptives use hormones to basically tell the body to take a break from the baby-making cycle. And then you have surgical methods, which are a permanent stop sign.
Let's start with barrier methods, because they're exactly what they sound like. Things like condoms, diaphragms, and cervical caps, they physically block sperm from getting to the egg. Simple. But here's the crucial added benefit. Condoms are also one of our best weapons against sexually transmitted diseases, including HIV. That's a huge deal.
You can get both male and female condoms, and they're usually made of a thin rubber or latex. And their use has become so much more common, not just for preventing pregnancy, but for that absolutely vital, life-saving job of preventing disease.
Now let's talk about another really popular option, especially in India, and that's Intra Uterine Devices, or IUDs. These are tiny devices that a doctor or nurse places inside the uterus. They're super effective and can work for years, which makes them an amazing choice for people who want to delay getting pregnant or just want to space out their kids.
And for those who are sure they're done having children and want a permanent solution, there are surgical options. This is also called sterilization. For men, it's a vasectomy, a pretty simple procedure that blocks sperm from getting out. For women, it's a tubectomy, which blocks the fallopian tubes so the egg can't make its journey. Both are incredibly effective and meant to be for good.
But let's be real, no method is 100% perfect, and sometimes, for whatever reason, contraception isn't used at all. This brings us to another really critical and, let's face it, often debated, part of reproductive health. What happens when there's an unwanted pregnancy?
This is where we need to talk about a medical procedure called MTP, or Medical Termination of Pregnancy. It was actually legalized in India way back in 1971 with specific rules to prevent misuse, but it remains a significant part of reproductive health care all over the world.
So what is MTP exactly? Well, it's the intentional or voluntary ending of a pregnancy before the fetus is able to survive outside the womb. You'll also hear it called induced abortion.
And to really understand the scale of this, just look at this number. Every single year, an estimated 45 to 50 million MTPs are performed worldwide. That means about 1 out of every 5 pregnancies on the planet ends with this procedure. It's a huge part of the global reproductive health landscape. Okay, let's shift gears a little. We need to talk about another vital piece of the reproductive health puzzle, and that's the diseases that get transmitted through sexual contact. When it comes to STDs, awareness and prevention are absolutely everything. So here are just some of the common ones. And here's the scary part. While some of these can be cured if you catch them early, others, like hepatitis-B and HIV, are lifelong. They're with you forever. That's why prevention isn't just a good idea, it's critical.
The good news? It really comes down to a few pretty simple rules. The advice is super clear. Try to avoid sex with unknown or multiple partners. Always use a condom. And hey, if you have any doubt at all, just go see a qualified doctor. Getting checked out early makes all the difference. So, up until now, we've been talking about preventing or ending a pregnancy. But for a lot of couples all over the world, the challenge is the complete opposite. It's the struggle of not being able to have a child when they want one. We're talking about infertility.
And this is where we run into a really important social issue. In many places, including India, there's this harmful myth that if a couple can't have a child, it's the woman's fault. But the science tells a very different story. More often than not, the issue is actually with the male partner or sometimes with both. We have to challenge that stigma.
But thankfully, science offers so much hope. There's a whole field called assisted reproductive technologies, or ART. These are amazing techniques to help couples conceive. You've probably heard of the most famous one, IVF, or in vitro fertilization. That's the one people call the test tube baby program, where fertilization happens in a lab.
And this really brings us full circle. Because as the World Health Organization puts it, reproductive health isn't just about your body working correctly. It's about total well-being, physical, emotional, behavioral, and social. It's about having a safe and satisfying sex life, the ability to have children, and most importantly, the freedom to decide if, when, and how often to do so. It's all about having agency and choice.
So I want to leave you with this thought. Right now, we have more tools and more control over reproduction than at any other time in human history, from preventing it to creating it. The great challenge for all of us now is to figure out how to use these tools wisely, to navigate all the complex medical, ethical, and social questions to make sure that all this progress actually leads to real well-being for everyone. That's a conversation that belongs to all of us.